Hello, you're watching Talking About. I'm John Griffith.
I'm Cara Kilduff.
And we've got a very special guest who I think Cara wants to introduce.
Yes, tonight we have Christian Parker from the Pride Institute joining us. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Thank you for being here.
Don't be nervous. You're a vision in purple.
Okay, for those who don't know, what is the Pride Institute?
The Pride Institute is the nation's only LGBT treatment center for alcohol and drug abuse
Where is it located?
in, get ready, do the accent, Minnesota.
Oh, jeez, Minnesota, yeah. That's nice. They have a good state fair, I hear. My hairstylist tells me. Anyway,
They absolutely do. And they've been there for 25 years.
25 years. Why so specific for the queers?
Well, you know, from my own story, I went to a straight rehab. Like, my therapist, like, sent me, like, far off to the hill country of Texas to get sober. And I was in the hill country. I was the only gay.
You were the only gay in
I
the
was
village.
the only gay in the village. Like a week and a half later, this guy from San Francisco, this other queen, flew in, and like they immediately realized that, you know, we were like, oh my God, another gay, and they immediately separated us. You know, so like I like stood up for myself and said, like, I have every right to be here and to get sober because I have the same problem that you guys are dealing with. The issue is, like, a majority of people like wouldn't stand up for themselves, and so that's why the Pride Institute has been like really serving the community for like so long.
That's amazing. I was looking at, when we were teeing, I was looking at the pamphlet. Did you bring that with you up on the?
I left it there, but it's probably memorized.
Oh. They had nice pictures. Well, what kind of services does the Pride Institute offer? Like as far as a rehab is, like, how does it compare to like your average rehab? Like, what makes it stand out?
You know, it's different. Like, you know, when I had to go away, like, my therapist presented me with like 3 options. It was Bellevue Hospital, Betty Ford, or this other one, which like Dr. Phil apparently raved about. And so most rehabs will treat like an addiction, like very specifically. They're like, okay, well, you're coming in, we'll treat you for crystal meth addiction, alcohol abuse, or maybe trauma. And when they get out, they're back in the real world. So the thing that Pride does for the LGBT community is they treat, it's like an integrated approach to recovery, especially with gay men and the way that crystal meth is like really like bombarded the East Coast. What they do is they treat the sexual wellness part, the mental health part, and the abuse part, the substance abuse part, all together. Tends to be more effective in the end.
That makes a lot of sense. How did you get this gig?
It's an interesting story. My friends and I started Queer and Sober a few years ago.
And what is that?
Queer and Sober is an organization based here in New York, and they do sober events during Pride weekend, and also other events throughout the year. And basically, it was an idea that my friends and I had after going to a really bad AA dance with like 25 people. It was just like, it's payback for every bad AA dance we've ever been to. So we did it, we kind of put our pockets together, and we rented like the Circle Line, and we like rented this big gallery, and we like hired all these designers and these creative team members to make like a real experience for people in recovery. You know, like an experience to the fact where like, when you go out in New York, especially Pride weekend, you know, you can go to XL, you can go to Barracuda, but if you're in recovery and if you're new, you're kind of shaky.
Right.
And you're like, I want to be where everyone else is. And so what Queer and Sober does is they bring the grandness of these places and they bring it to
To the
recovering community. Yeah. So it feels
Make
like
things fabulous.
make them fabulous, big, make them feel like they're not missing out.
Right. That's important.
Yeah, and it's amazing how a few years back the Clean and Sober contingent in the Pride Parade used to be the largest contingent, and unless I'm just there at the wrong time, it seems relatively invisible for the last couple of years.
It was. It dwindled actually down to like maybe 5 or 6 people. Sometimes no one would show up. Queer and Sober got involved and kind of revived that. So from 5 people in 2010 marching with no banner down Fifth Avenue, it's kind of like strong.
Sad.
It's sad. No. Okay, fine. This past year, 2011, you know, the year of gay marriage, we had over 55 people
That's
you know,
right,
and
that's
people
right.
just kept it just kept getting bigger, and so there's an
'Cause
enthusiasm
you pick
coming
up
back.
strays along the way.
You pick up strays, and there's this enthusiasm that's happening in the city. You know, like being sober or being in recovery is not so much of a doesn't have that stigma that it might have had like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's various reasons for that.
Oh wow, you have your shit together. What's your secret?
Well, for those who are out there and watching and questioning their habits, yeah, and am I using too much? Am I drinking too much? Am I doing this too much? What are some good indicators for them that they might need a little bit of help?
Well, it depends. You know, like from my own personal experience, you know, I was just tired of like friends talking about people behind my back. You know, I was tired of like losing jobs, losing relationships, this and that. You know, everyone defines their own bottom, if you will. Yeah. Everyone defines their own bottom, and you know, it depends. Like, there's something interesting happening on the East Coast. Crystal meth came from like California, and like 10 years ago in New York, it wasn't really that big of a deal. But now on the Eastern Seaboard, it's epidemic, and for like gay men, it's a rite of passage almost. And so the thing about like going out and dating, like back like in my uncle's a big old queen. But when he was in New York, like he would go down to like Stonewall and Maurice Crisis and the Duplex. If you wanted to go out to meet a guy, you went to a bar. But
Right.
things have changed. Now it's instantly. I can do something on my iPhone. I can do something on Manhunt. And with that element, that instant gratification, there is an element of drugs for some people. And it's just so much, it's just so different. And that drug is designed to get you by surprise. So we're seeing a lot of people come into the rooms younger.
Which actually isn't. I mean,
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It's not a bad thing that they're reaching out for help. It's unfortunate that they get to a point where they need to reach out for help.
Sure, sure. And like,
that makes sense in a roundabout way.
it does, and you know, if we're getting people in the rooms younger, our goal, our objective, especially at Queer and Sober and at the Pride Institute, is to keep them interested. Because if they feel like it's boring or dull, they leave. They're
Right.
like, this is pathetic, and they're out the door. So our job is to encourage them to stay, get them involved, give them a real, authentic experience, and help them have a better life. You know, it worked for me. It works for lots of people.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some things that some action that people need to do to take to stay sober. And you can't go to a meeting or go to meetings for a year and then, oh, miracle, yeah, I'm all better, and then walk away and just kind of skirt the system again. Because that, to me, it strikes me as a recipe for trouble. So activities such as the ones that you're providing help people to live a sober life and still find ways to enjoy yourself.
Of course, yeah.
Well, you know, you're also a really welcoming person. So for people that are new, it's like, you know, do you have one of the cards on you?
I think I do. I think I do.
They're very jazzy
one of these?
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great thing to get enjoy. I mean, this is great for Pride Weekend. It's fantastic.
Well, what's interesting about Pride Weekend and why we chose Pride Weekend is because, like 3 years ago, like I like to have a good time, regardless. I like to have a good time before I got sober, and I still like to have a good time. And like, there's like, I guess I have that reputation. And like 3 like guys that were young called me up on like the Wednesday of right before Pride Weekend, like 2009, and they called me and they're like, "What are you doing for Pride Weekend?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go to the AA dance." And so I think I just unanimity myself or something like that. But
I think we figured it out.
yeah, so I bring them there. We show up and it's like it's in a cafeteria. There's like 23 people. It's dark and there's a DJ in the corner. And the kids were like, "Is this the best you can do? This is in New York. This is what I'm going to have to be subjected to." And so, you know, I just was like, "I'm sorry. I thought you would have had a good time." Later on, my friends and I got together and we were just talking. We're like, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to like do that again. Let's do our own thing. So we kind of put our wallets together. We got on Facebook. We decided to throw a party. We're going to charge a dime. And we expected 50 people. We had 702.
What?
Holy moly.
702. We slapped a theme on it called the Wild West. I went on Craigslist, hired some go-go boys to make it even real, more real, and
You're good.
it worked. It worked. We just, it was amazing. And from that, we said we're onto something. The people like it. We can bring everyone together. You know, whether you're in the rooms or not. Maybe you just want to maybe you just don't like drinking. You know, you're welcome to come. You're welcome to come and have an awesome time.
Well, we were talking before. That's because I had asked you how. That was how the people at the Pride Institute were stalking you, and found out that you were behind this, and they were like, "Hey, they were smart that they got you."
Well, I'm flattered because you know we built this idea. This idea is now an organization, and it was built up from nothing. And the Pride Institute, all the way in Minnesota, with like 2 feet of snow, heard about it, and they contacted me. They said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, you know, I work in fashion, and I also do creative work for Queer and Sober." They said, "How would you like to work for us?" I said, "I don't even know what it is that you do." And so they explained it to me. They said, "Christian, we need someone on our team to serve as a community relations person for the Eastern Seaboard, working with families, working with employee assistance programs, working with therapists and counselors." And the beauty of it is that I get to travel from New England down to Florida, meeting with these people, working with families, helping guys out, helping lesbians out, and it's a feel-good job. It's really a feel-good job. It's amazing. I love it.
That's nice. Yeah, I can feel that. You definitely like your job.
Yeah, I mean, just to see somebody hit the milestones of success in sobriety has got to be rewarding in and of itself, just to be able to give back like that.
Sure, definitely.
To see that on a daily basis too, that's really cool. That's awesome.
So what are some of the places where people who think they might need a little bit of help, where they can reach out to?
Reach out to your local community centers. The LGBT Center here in New York is a fabulous resource. If you're in a place like Atlanta, most big cities have an LGBT center. If not, reach out to your therapist or your counselor. You can also open the phone book and look towards the very front, and you can call a hotline, and they'll connect you.
You are a force to be reckoned with, mister.
Why?
What do you mean, why? Because you are. You're going to do lots of stuff in your life. I can feel it.
It's fun. It's fun. This is like unbelievable because I did not want to get sober when I was 23 years old. I didn't want to go to rehab. I didn't want anything. I wanted nothing to do with this. And now, like, it's come full circle. It's just...
Wow, in 2 short years, huh?
Yes, 2 short years.
Well, I mean, you're doing a remarkable job, and I'm sure that there are tons of people out there who really appreciate it. The Pride Institute website is?
www.pride-institute.com.
And Queer and Sober is their website?
www.nycqueerandsober.org.
Very good.
Okay. And there, as far as Pride Institute, are there various forms of assistance that people who want to reach out in that direction can find within the website? And find out
Absolutely.
exactly?
On the website is the admissions team, an 800 number you can call. And even if you just need to talk, just like sort some things out, like maybe you just had a rough night last night, or maybe you've had several rough nights in a row, and you just want to talk to someone, just to kind of like clear the air.
Well, a lot of times it's easier to talk to a stranger than it is to talk to someone who you consider one of your best friends.
Exactly, exactly. And not that everyone out there in the gay community is, you know, a potential drug addict or alcoholic. No, but, you know, 33% of the community struggles with it.
Okay.
You know, and they're 2 to 4 times more likely to experience depression or anxiety for various reasons.
Okay, and with that, we have to close. We're just about out of time, and I really, really want to thank you for taking the time to
Thank
share
you
with
so
us.
much for
Thank
having
you
me.
for
Thank
coming.
you. Absolutely.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to share with us. My name is John Griffith,
I'm Cara Kilduff.
and we'll see you next time.